No, they said communism doesn't work. They lied to us. They told us communism was misery and poverty. And here in China, the quickest way I can tell you is because this is not communism. Who are they fooling? Don't fool yourselves. This is not communism, it's capitalism. Free market, freedom to buy and sell with absolute government control. I could end this video here. Move on to the next one and subscribe for more details. Let me explain. Let's go. Look, all my life I grew up hearing that we have to follow the model of the United States to achieve absolute prosperity. That's the goal, the model to follow. American streets with a McDonald's right there. And that the only way to get there is by following their model of government. But China proves that's wrong. Remember the video I made about Denmark, the country without poor people, where I said it's not socialist? It's a hybrid country. It's a mix of everything that actually works, and they focus on social welfare. The same here in China, the same. It's not a communist country, it's a hybrid country, and they're implementing everything that actually works, and it's really worked for them. They've had decades of prosperity. And yes, it's a single-party system, and no, people don't choose the leader, they don't choose the president. But look, I really wish that my people, Chiapas, had just half of the prosperity and progress that China has had. You can't be a communist because you're free to buy, sell, and open a business. I can get an investor visa and come open a business here with a bank account in China and take my profits back to my country. That's not communism, but what there is total control. You're totally controlled by the Chinese government, and you might say, I don't want to be controlled, I can't have total control from a government. I'm a free citizen, sure you're free. That government you support is colluding with organized crime. Who would you rather control you? The Chinese government or a cartel demanding protection money from your business? How many shootouts? We've seen cartels show up at events and shoot at people. We see that child who died because his parents had a debt. What kind of oppression and control do you want? Me, personally? Excuse me if this offends you, but I'd prefer control by the Chinese government over a cartel. And again, I'm not speaking against democracy. I'm saying that our governments in Latin America are so inept, so inefficient, that they make the Chinese government look like paradise. To me, yes. Please rescue me from that capitalist free market paradise and give me a little bit of the results of this communist government. Look, I'm taking a big risk here. By telling you this, by showing you this video. Many people will label me a communist. They'll say you've lost your mind and gone insane, but what are you doing? Why are you acting so crazy? I'm not a communist, as I've told you. I don't support any political party or any government. What I support is humanity. And undeniably, the Chinese are enjoying a higher quality of life than people in Latin America. I'm going to tell you this in a really good way. No, I don't support communism, and I'm going to tell you this about 3 times throughout this video. So that it's very clear to you, what I support is improving the quality of life for people in Latin America. Because it's time, it's our turn, we deserve it now. And China is a very good example of many things that can improve, although it's not perfect, but we can learn some things. The way I would describe it is communism with Chinese characteristics, a hybrid. It's not the typical communism we read about in the books that were written. Karl Marx's ideas differ from what the Soviet Union adopted, which eventually collapsed into the form of communism he described. The government owns everything, all the means of production, and it collects it and then distributes it equally. That's what we've already seen doesn't work, because when dictators have all those resources, they only share them among themselves. So it's not that communism doesn't work. We simply can't trust people to give them all the money of a country and expect them to use it fairly. That's just something that never happens. We can't trust in the integrity of human beings. Greed is much stronger than any person who has come to power in a communist revolution. And all those resources of the country end up not being distributed fairly anymore. And yes, it's true, it's very true that the United States has sabotaged the economy, the progress, and the success of all the countries and presidents who have adopted some form of communism, or anything that resembles it. And the United States is largely to blame for those economies not prospering, thus giving rise to the belief that communism doesn't work. But right now we're not going to talk about that, we're going to talk about China, because here it actually has worked. And since 1970, China has adopted three key things. Number one, private businesses can exist. Number two, foreigners can invest in China. And number three, there is free competition among private businesses. You choose what you sell, how much you sell it for, who your supplier is, and who your customer is. Therefore, by every definition and concept, China has been a capitalist country with a free market since 1970. They actually have more commercial freedom than we do in Mexico. A Chinese person can open a business, prosper, and pay taxes, but a Mexican business owner might have to pay protection money. We see the case of that retired teacher in Mexico who refused to pay the extortion fees to organized crime. And we all saw how it ended, something sad, shameful, and unacceptable. And before you criticize China and shout communism, think about that teacher who lost her life. Who do you think she would have preferred? The Chinese Communist government or the capitalist paradise that had her tied up, subjugated in her final moments of life? Let's reason. The political system is indeed a single party, the Chinese Communist Party, but the economic system is not open capitalism. It's controlled by the government, yes, but it's still capitalism. Now, who controls your market, the government or a cartel, and which one do you prefer? Look, I know this topic is really tough. It's hard for me to make the video, it's hard to talk about it, and it's embarrassing for you to watch it. Why am I supporting this kind of government? I mean, what am I thinking, especially the conservative guys? I know right now your minds are blown, but look, that's how desperate we are. Anything can help us. We can't get any worse. We're really screwed. We can't close our minds or have some taboo and say no, never, with an open mind. We have to look at the things that have worked in China's economy. Don't focus on the word communism. That's what happened to me. As soon as I heard communism, I said, no, I don't want anything to do with it. It's communism. It's unacceptable, period. And I closed myself off. I closed myself off to trying to see with an open mind how China has worked. Until I came and saw it with my own eyes, until I saw that all their industries are progressing. Industries that are collapsing in Latin America are flourishing here. Aspects of the market and social life are flourishing here. Meanwhile, Latin America still faces the same problems as in past decades. The same infrastructure that our grandparents and our parents lacked, and now our children are lacking it too. At this point in history, we have nothing to lose. I just ask you, analyze with an open mind the growth that China has had and brings growth, to see which ones or how many can truly benefit us in Latin America, adapted to our democratic governments. But we need something, a change, something has to happen now. Look, it's a very, very strange mix, very strange and very unique in the world. A mix between authoritarian control and a free market. Authoritarian control because the government controls everything, politics, the media, everything. But within that control and the limits they set for you, you are free to do whatever you want with the market. You can buy and sell to any country you want, do whatever you want, invest in whatever you want safely. And this unique mix of authoritarian control and market freedom has allowed for all this prosperity and stability. Here there are no strikes, protests, street blockades or coups, which results in much more agility for the government to mobilize military personnel. They don't need Parliament's permission or a vote. If they want to mobilize resources, staff, or build something, protests don't matter. None of that exists here. The government acts, however, and whenever it wants. Why then do the Chinese support a communist party? Why would they give their support and approval to a communist party? Because it provides benefits, purpose, and prosperity. Have you seen in Mexico when there are people who support a drug cartel because the cartel gives them something the government doesn't give them? Now, which is worse? Who is worse, the Chinese for supporting a communist government, or the Mexicans who support a drug cartel? Or a government that's colluding with those cartels? Which is worse? I'll leave that to you, you decide the answer. And on top of all that, add that the Chinese are smart, they're not inept like those who live in the United States or Canada. When was the last time you saw a poor Chinese person, someone without a home, homeless on the street, lying around? The Chinese government is the same. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the Chinese, look, they were watching and listening, and all the mistakes the Soviet Union made, they didn't make them anymore. They used it as a model for what to do and what not to do. They are a pragmatic government that analyzes, that thinks, that reasons, that has strategies, that doesn't do things recklessly. They mix everything, socialism, capitalism, patriotism, whatever it is, they mix it and adapt it flexibly. They quickly learn to identify upcoming problems and solutions without caring which country invented them, or if there's a bad reputation. They implement it, and then each department has the task of implementing 5-year growth plans. You have 5 years to deliver results, otherwise we'll try something else. They don't spend 40 years in poverty waiting for action. These 5-year plans have used technology, manufacturing, tourism, infrastructure, everything. Look, when I returned to Chiapas after being away for about 20 years, I realized that in those 20 years they had done 2 infrastructure projects too. The first was the Tuxtla Gutierrez Airport, the capital city, which is not actually in Tuxtla Gutierrez. It's about an hour away from the city in a remote area. There, a highway linking Tuxtla and San Cristobal has a collapsed bridge. In 20 years, those miserable results, come on, give me just a little bit of results from governments that don't work. If that's the great capitalism with progress, give me just a little of what those who live under communist subjugation like this enjoy. For example, look at high-speed highways, ports, and urban development have been built at a speed unmatched in most democracies. Specific industrial policies, such as in electronics, renewable energy, and artificial intelligence, have helped China leap into positions of global leadership. If your government did that for you, would you support it? Would you care that they have the word communist in their name? Look at the narrative of a century of humiliation, followed by national rejuvenation. Is this what keeps very strong popular support for the party? It's like the Morena of China. And besides, many Chinese people consider that stability, economic growth, and international respect are much more important than the freedoms that we supposedly have in the West, like freedom of the press, freedom of expression, and the freedom to criticize the government in public, which we have. A lot of Chinese people here are not interested in that. Let me make it very clear. I'm not defending communism. I'm not saying that Latin America is communist. No. I'm showing you how inept our governments are. I'm trying to inspire you so that we come together to demand from our inept governments that they give us at the very least, half of what a communist government offers. If in Mexico people can support a cartel and it doesn't bother you, then you shouldn't be bothered by a dumb YouTuber showing you the good things about China. Look, something I've seen and noticed is that the Chinese don't care about what their government does. They're not interested in elections. They're not interested in party propaganda. They're not interested in presidential elections. All that wasteful commotion we make in Latin America, every election cycle that fills our streets with trash. Vote for me, that doesn't matter to them at all. What they want is prosperity, and the government is definitely giving them that prosperity, like, I take care of you and you don't mess with me. That's more or less the deal. Like the government told them, I'm going to give you prosperity, opportunities, a good economy, and whatever I do. Isn't that interesting? The Chinese replied, you got it, boss, but in Chinese. And that's how they lifted 800 million people out of extreme poverty. 800 million. If we compare it to Latin America, we have almost 670 million people. Out of these, more than 180 million people don't have enough income to buy their basic needs, and 70 million of them don't have enough income to buy enough food. Just look at that. And these levels haven't changed in 30, 40, or 50 years depending on the country. I'm not saying that China is perfect, that it's flawless, that it doesn't have anything wrong, that they have a spotless record. No, I'm not worshiping them either. I'm not praising them. I'm not putting them on a pedestal, right? I'm simply acknowledging that the Chinese Communist government has given its citizens what I would like. That my Spanish-speaking brothers in Latin America had just a little. And this is what makes the Chinese system legitimate for everyone who's doubting, who doesn't know if it works. I don't know if the Chinese got it right. I don't know if the Chinese strategy is good. Well, there's the legitimacy you need. 800 million people who came out of extreme poverty. There too. I think this is already universal from every country. It's for everyone. Wherever I go, people see you recording and want to say hi. Good vibes. Here, the Chinese don't care at all. They just want economic prosperity. And as for the rest, if my government does this, it's fine. If the Chinese Communist Party is fine. If I'm prospering, I don't care. That's their mentality. And we're the same, but without the prosperity. And it's not that we don't care, it's just that we're either scared or too lazy to get involved in what the government does. Whether it's because the population is terrified since it's the most dangerous country for reporters and it's not safe. Will you speak out against the government, or are you just too lazy? I mean, we're just like the Chinese. The only difference is that they actually get something and we get nothing at all. You already know which one. I don't want to say the vulgar word, but you know what they give us. See it as an exchange like that. The Chinese made an exchange. They made a trade. They gave up their freedoms and tolerate government control in exchange for prosperity and security. They tolerate it in the same way that we tolerate the ineptitude and corruption of our governments. It's just that we don't get anything in return. They tolerate that government control because in exchange they get security and prosperity. We also give up many basic human rights in Latin America, all of Latin America, but in return we get nothing. We really were taken for fools, but not the Chinese. At least they were spoken to honestly from the beginning. Look guys, there will be monitoring, yes, but along with that comes prosperity and security. And for us, look guys, we're going to be corrupt, mediocre, inept, incompetent. We're going to spend 200 years of being third world. But in exchange, we're going to give you, come on, repeat after me. In exchange, we're going to give you nothing but what? Ha ha ha. So, who has been to Puebla? Do you know that candy they give you in Puebla? And who has been to Arab countries, huh? Haha. Help me say the name. They gave us nothing but what? Come on, which one? And it's not about communism not working or capitalism working. No, nothing. Forget about that. Stop with the nonsense. Our governments are inept and the government of China is effective. Let it be very clear, crystal clear. I can't make it any clearer. I don't support communism. I'm not making a video in favor of communism. I'm calling for the best possible quality of life for the people of Latin America. And I give you the example that China has done it, so why can't we? There will always be some idiot in the comments saying, "Are you a communist?" There's nothing I can do about that. There will always be one. But for those who are actually paying attention, for those who do have the ability to understand, you guys get what I'm saying, right? Most of you do get my message. Well, to conclude, to finish the video, final thought. Why does communism work here in China? Because it's not communism, it's capitalism under the banner of communism. It's an authoritarian government, yes, but with market flexibility so you can practice capitalism. I'm going to say it one last time. I support democracy, I don't support communism, but I would love for us in Latin America to have the prosperity they have here. Is it possible within my fantasies and faith in humanity that someday we could have this same level of prosperity and keep our democracy? I'll leave that for you to think about.